Big news out of Brussels. The European Commission has fined Elon Musk's X 120 million euros for breaching the Digital Services Act. Regulators said that redesigned WooCheck was deceptive, ad transparency was lacking, and researchers weren't given required public data access. Short version? First formal DSA sanction. Big precedent. What's your take? Is this just a slap on the wrist or a real game changer?
It's both symbolic and practical. Symbolic because it's the first formal enforcement under the DSA. That tells other platforms the EU will use these tools. Practical because the violations hit at verification, ad transparency, and research access. Those affect user safety, election integrity, and independent study of platform harms. The blue check issue matters. If people can't tell who's authentic, impersonation and scams rise.
How do you see this affecting transatlantic relations and tech business models?
Tension is inevitable. U.S. officials are already grumbling about overreach, and platforms will push back. For business models, this nudges companies toward clearer design, stricter ad disclosure, and formal research or APIs, and maybe more licensing or regional product splits. In short, compliance costs now, but potentially less legal and reputational risk later.
Shifting gears, Cloudflare suffered a global outage during what it called scheduled maintenance, taking down big names, Zoom, LinkedIn, Canva, even Downdetector for a short period. Reports mention a logging change and a firewall tweak. How does a maintenance window bring the internet to its knees?
Two things collide: scale and centralization. Cloudflare sits on the critical path for millions of sites. A misconfigured change like disabling logging or an unintended firewall rule can cascade because so many services rely on that single control plane. The outage appears to have been brief but visible, and because Downdetector itself went offline, external monitoring was hampered. Investors and customers must be jittery after a repeat incident.
Absolutely. Repeated incidents raise questions about change management and blast radius controls. Customers will demand stronger SLAs, better incident postmortems, and perhaps multi-provider architectures. The lesson: critical infra needs strict, rehearsed rollouts and easy rollback paths, and maybe fewer single points of failure in the modern web stack. Next up, Meta inked a slate of multi-year AI licensing deals. Reuters was earlier, and now partners include CNN, Fox News, USA Today, People, and Le Monde. Its chatbot will cite and link to real-time newsroom content across Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Messenger. Is this a pivot for Meta on news and AI?
It's a notable pivot and strategically smart. Meta had pulled back from paying publishers, but generative AI needs reliable current sources. Paying publishers and linking out both gives the AI provenance and funnels traffic, a selling point for publishers. Including outlets across the political spectrum also lowers accusations of selection bias.
What does this mean for competition with other AI players?
Expect pressure on rivals to secure similar deals or risk delivering lower quality, unlicensed answers. It raises the bar for trusted AI responses, and the licensing money may shift the economics of newsrooms that have spent years fighting decimated ad revenues.
On the legal front, the New York Times has filed suit against Perplexity, alleging verbatim copying of articles and fabricated attributions in AI outputs. The Chicago Tribune filed a similar suit. Is this more of the same legal drama we've seen with other AI firms?
It fits the pattern, but with sharper claims. The Times alleges both that Perplexity scraped its content to train or feed models, and that Perplexity's outputs sometimes reproduce articles verbatim or wrongly attribute content, the so-called hallucinations. This adds to a growing portfolio of copyright cases against AI companies and raises liability questions about training data and output control.
Practically speaking, where does this leave startups and the industry?
Startups face a hard choice: costly licensing deals, aggressive filtering of training data, or legal exposure. We'll likely see more settlements or standardized licensing frameworks, but litigation could slow innovation or push companies toward paid licensing faster than market forces alone would.
Finally, a travel tech disruption.
Edinburgh Airport suspended flights after an IT issue with its air traffic control provider. Flights resumed later, but there were delays, cancellations, and at least one diverted transatlantic flight. There was some initial chatter linking this to the Cloudflare outage. Are these two connected?
Short answer, no. The Edinburgh shutdown came from an IT fault in the air traffic control systems, a domain separate from Cloudflare's web infrastructure. That said, the stories together highlight a broader point. Critical systems across sectors increasingly depend on complex IT, and failures have very tangible, real-world consequences. For airports, redundancy, fail-safe procedures, and clear passenger communication are crucial.
Any parting advice for travelers and sysadmins alike?
Travelers, check with your airline before heading to the airport. Sysadmins, practice your incident drills, partition risk, and bias toward automated fallback paths. And to everyone, keep calm and carry on, but maybe pack an extra charger.
Good call. That's it for today. Thanks for walking through the headlines with me.
Pleasure as always. Same time next crisis.
The preceding audio summary was created at jesterengine.com, where you can find and verify the original sources.